tell your family that you're not going to be coming home for the holidays? For 15 years since I left my parents' home, I had never spent more than a year without seeing them and my brother, and I usually visit them around New Year's time. And we get along super well. I'm super excited always to go see them. My parents and brother, they live in the northeast of Brazil. So in 2015, Zika virus epidemic spread across Brazil and all over the world, and it was especially present in the northeast of Brazil where they live, where the weather is warm. And Zika virus was causing a lot of birth defects like microcephaly and other really serious neurological problems on newborns, which meant that babies could have these collapsed skulls and brain damage, seizures, hearing loss, growth issues, vision, lifelong problems. And because it was a new virus, very little was known about it. And there was this belief from the researchers that once somebody, a man or a woman, got infected, then their future pregnancies were at risk for a very long time. And there was a common mosquito called Aedes aegypti that was transmitting Zika virus. So by New Year's, it had been about a year since I had seen my family back in Brazil, and the Zika outbreak was at its peak. My husband definitely did not want us to go anywhere near Brazil or the Zika virus. My parents and brother could not visit us because of work obligations as well. And it was really rough. I cried a lot because I had never been more than a year away from my parents and my brother. And there was no sign this outbreak was going to settle anytime soon. And it took about a year for Zika to get under control again, which meant I didn't see my parents and brother for 2 years, which felt like an infinity to me. And at the time, it wasn't clear how long it was going to take for it to be under control. So yes, it was hard. That New Year's, I had to break the news to my parents to tell them that I wouldn't be visiting, even though I had never missed 1 year for 15 years since I left home. And this was harder really on me than on them. I explained my fear that I was scared of getting infected and the potential devastating consequence that it could cause if we had babies in the future because of Zika. I explained how my husband felt about it, and by explaining the fears that I had, my parents themselves arrived at the conclusion and suggested that we avoid visiting them. So I decided to be more present with them by calling them more frequently and making sure that the quality of our conversations were better, by being more curious about them, by listening more. And since then, even after Zika ended, I've had more meaningful conversations with my family than before Zika outbreak. And here's what I learned from this whole thing. If it weren't for Zika virus, I wouldn't have stepped up my communication with my parents and brother. I would have missed years of meaningful and joyful virtual interactions. I learned that it doesn't matter as much if I'm not present in person for a full year if I don't visit at New Year's time, because they get to feel my presence all year round if I make myself present, if I make myself part of their daily lives. So fast forward to 2020, it's been more than a year since I've seen my parents again and my brother, and once again there's a virus, the coronavirus this time, that's in the way of our encounter. And I'd really have enormous regret if I were to travel to see them, get infected during the trip, infect them, and cause them any harm. So once again, there's a huge uncertainty about when this thing's going to end, when it's going to get better again. And it could easily be another year before I get to see them in person, hug them, hang out with them in person. And I know it's incredibly hard to interrupt family traditions, to not be together. But, I think, this long trip to get there is a serious risk for them and for me. And I need to do what I feel is right. So since the outbreak of coronavirus, I knew exactly what I had to do because of my experience with Zika. I made sure to compensate not being physically present by being more present in other ways. And it's worked beautifully for me and for them. My father told me recently that even though it's already been more than a year since we saw each other, he feels my intentional efforts to stay in touch, and he feels my love in that way, and he's very appreciative. Luckily, there's technology today that allows us to stay connected. So as we approach 2020, the end of the year with the holidays, the Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, just consider carefully the coronavirus risk that you pose to your family members, to yourself, to your clients, especially if there are seniors that have risk conditions. Consider good and bad scenarios of what could happen, and what would be the response of your higher self so that you don't have any regrets. Consider how you can engage and connect with your family members and your friends on a regular basis, right? With consistent basis, with Zoom or the phone. Consider how you can have more meaningful conversations virtually. And then communicate your decision with empathy, love, and emotion, but firmly. A no filled with love right now may be a yes to many more beautiful in-person interactions and encounters in the future. And it's really your job, my friends, your job to articulate that message to them. So stay more present virtually during the holidays, and remember that when you aren't present in person, you need to over-communicate your feelings and presence in other ways, since you don't have that same level of transmission of eye contact, touch, body language, nodding, facial expressions. And be mindful of how you use these 3 elements I'm going to share with you to better connect in virtual or phone conversations. You need to show your emotions, right? Because they don't get through on video as much, with emphatic words that communicate the emotions, like for curiosity, tell me more, really? If you're sad, oh, that's so sad, I'm so sorry to hear that. Happy, I'm excited, I can't wait. Empathy, I feel you, I hear you, that's hard. Surprise, no way, wow, I can't believe that, that's crazy. Accentuated intonation, like wow, instead of wow, you do wow. Instead of no way, you do no way. Make it extra emphatic. And then use expressions to show that you're listening, like I see, got it, I see, okay, I understand. Is this what you mean? And then here's 3 strategies that you can use to bridge the communication gap and influence your loved family and friends in these emotional, hard conversations. Get them to empathize with you. So for example, you could say, I'm terrified of causing you any harm, by bringing the coronavirus to you. And I couldn't live with that regret. What would you do if you were me? You can also make it about you rather than making it about them. I couldn't live with the regret of causing harm to you. I'm extremely uncomfortable traveling with the coronavirus risk. Or if you're a nurse or doctor, I'd feel incredibly guilty if I got infected and then caused my patients to have issues or even die. And then make it about the long-term benefits versus the short-term pains. So you could say, once this pandemic is under control, we can spend a whole lot of time together. Now I'm going to share with you 6 steps to break the bad news that you're not visiting your esteemed family members and friends during this holiday season, because if they expect you to do so in a warm, caring, and loving way. Okay, step 1, reaffirm the relationship value. You can say, I really care for you and I wish I could be there to celebrate this holiday together with you. And then step 2, be direct about your decision without hesitation. But unfortunately, this year, we're not going to be able to visit you. Step 3, state your reason, state your why, based on you. So you could say, I can't handle the regret of bringing this virus to you and causing negative consequences. Step 4, offer an alternative if you can. For example, now here's what I love to do. Why don't we have a virtual dinner together? I know it's not the same, but I really believe it can be very special. Step 5, reaffirm the relationship once again. You can't get enough of this stuff. I love spending time with you and I wish I could be there. Step 6, paint a brighter future. And I can't wait for this epidemic to pass so that I can come see you in person and give you a big hug. Here's how if you put it all together, piece it all together, what it would look like. I really care for you and I wish I could be there to celebrate this holiday together with you. But unfortunately, this year we won't be visiting. I just can't handle the regret of bringing this virus to you and causing negative consequences. Now here's what I'd love to do. Why don't we have a virtual dinner together? I know it's not the same thing, but I do believe that it can still be very special. I love spending time with you and I wish I could be there, and I can't wait for this pandemic to end so that I can come see you in person and give you a big warm hug. You see, that sounds just fine. It's not that scary. So don't allow the discomfort of communicating bad news to have you do something that you feel uncomfortable with, that goes against your beliefs, or that may cause you painful regrets later, because you don't want that. Speak sooner than later and focus on the positives. The way you handle the situation can make your relationship stronger. Remember, just like Zika virus and other viruses, this too will pass. Just like Zika taught me to be more present in a continuous basis, let coronavirus change your connection habits for the better. And happy holidays, my friend. However you choose to do it, be safe and have fun. Be confident, candid, and caring during this holiday season. And thank you once more for giving me the opportunity to serve you today. And I can't wait to hear from you in the comments or to see you in future videos again. Have a beautiful day.